9 months ago, right before the theatrical release of The Rise of Skywalker, I made my first Star Wars Slam video. But when The Rise of Skywalker came out, I never did a review. I used to get comments asking when my review of the movie is coming, and there's a reason I didn't do one, because I knew you guys didn't want to hear me say this, but the movie wasn't that bad. In fact, I actually enjoyed it. One of my favorite things about Star Wars is the iconic moments. And while I Am Your Father will always be number one, I think And I Am All the Jedi is now officially number 2. You see, Rey became all the Jedi. And at that moment, millions of Star Wars fans came in their pants because it was a brilliant Star Wars moment. That joke is brought to you by the Milwaukee Children's Hospital. 12-year-old Jacob is dying of cancer, and he wrote that joke. I asked him if he really felt that way. He said, I was the dying kid that got an advanced screening of episode 9. The only thing I have left now before my inevitable death is trying to justify staying alive this long to see this movie. This movie is proof that every prick on YouTube reviewing movies does not know what they actually want. For 5 years, I've listened to fanboys bitch that Rey didn't go through training, and then she gets a year of training in this movie, and there's absolute crickets from them. Just admit J.J. Abrams listened to you. Is it so hard for you guys to give him that? Of course, that was his biggest mistake. I would take medical advice from Heath Ledger's drug dealer before I listen to some incel on YouTube or Reddit about how to run Star Wars. So I guess I'll be the one that takes the bait since no one else will. Thank you, J.J. Abrams, for training Rey Skywalker. That was so important to the fan base. See, it wasn't the expanded lore of the Jedi that made Luke's training interesting, or the mystical set, mysterious new characters, or progressing plot points. It was him running around and doing flips with Yoda. That's what the people liked. At least that's what they thought they liked. So dumbasses on the internet convinced other dumbasses that the training was the important part while completely missing the point about what made those scenes interesting in the first place. So then J.J. Abrams and Disney read this shit online and fall into this assumption that receiving training is actually somehow important for the movie. It's not important at all. You want to know how I know that? Because Rey finally got her training and no one ever gave a shit. I need to calm down. I'll say some things to make the audience happy again. Rey's training should have lasted at least another 34 minutes. We really got to flesh that training out. She didn't do enough handstand. The coolest character in this movie was that cyborg monkey. The second coolest character was the Knights of Ren. Some people seem to be confused about the Knights of Ren, so allow me to explain the genius of him. The Knights of Ren were introduced in episode 7. You find out Kylo Ren is the master of the Knights of Ren. Then in episode 8, I don't know. And then in episode 9, someone tells you the Knights of Ren are cool, and then they try to rape Kylo Ren. Rose Tico did not get enough screen time in this movie. That was the only outrage I really agreed with. She needed at least 25 more minutes of screen time, and she needed to have more lines in the movie about explaining to me how love will win. People say they didn't plan out the sequel trilogy and they just based each movie off the internet discourse surrounding the previous movie, and I don't believe that at all. See, it's pretty simple what their plan was. Episode 7, Rey's past is a mystery. Episode 8, mysteries are gay and don't matter. Episode 9, Palpatine is your grandpa. See, the entire message of the sequel trilogy can be summed up by Rose Tico.
Not fighting what we hate. Saving what we love.
I really love what they did with Finn's character arc. He goes from a lightsaber-wielding badass to the comic relief to finally becoming a Jedi in this movie. The first black Jedi ever. Thank you, Disney, for giving us the first black Jedi. I was really amazed in this movie when he could tell from his ship that Rey was dead in her ship. And also when he... Did I mention he's the first black Jedi ever? Everything you've ever cared about in this series all leads up to this moment. And this is a brilliant Star Wars moment. And no one can tell me otherwise. Seriously, everything you've ever loved, this is what came of it. These two making out. And then we get the greatest death scene not only in Star Wars, but all of modern cinema. Blah. Why was this woman's performance so stiff? Can someone please explain this to me in the comments? I don't know, usually this lady gives a good performance, but this time her acting just felt kind of lifeless. Almost like she was never even there in the first place. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone or not. Who would have guessed that the creepy old dead guy who hangs out with young women on his private island in this movie was not Jeffrey Epstein? What's more of a coincidence, that Disney made their Luke Skywalker just like Jeffrey Epstein, or that Disney's loosely connected to both their deaths? I mean, if anyone's touching kids in this movie, it's this thing. I think he's listed in the credits as former Disney VP Michael Laney.
watch the evening news and wonder if the cards are really stacked, if they're coming from the dealer, if the drinks are truly free and the odds are in my favor.